I think the producers have to be applauded for pulling the storyline at the time, because obviously there's going to be a backlash. People are going to say it's too similar, it's too close, and that's just sensitivity.
Yeah.
But I think to even contemplate that this may in any way reflect on the real situation of Maddy is, in my personal view, quite ridiculous. At the end of the day, it's a soap, and its idea is to come up with different storylines, dramatic, comedic, whatever, not necessarily to mirror any particular person's life. There are, of course, fictitious characters, so we should just enjoy it for what it is.
We are, as a nation, pretty much obsessed with child abduction. Now, this is feeding into that, isn't it, rather than...
Well, I don't think so. I think all it's doing is mirroring society. I mean, as you mentioned earlier...
But child abduction is relatively rare. Child disappearance is relatively high, but children could disappear for all sorts of reasons. They could run away from home. Child abduction, relatively rare.
That may be, but also, you know, people get married and divorced all the time. And if you just look at Deirdre and Ken's relationship, that in itself is a ridiculous kind of...
It's ridiculous, but as you said, marriage and divorce happens all the time. Child abduction doesn't happen very often. When it does, it's blown massively out of proportion. And here you have arguably the most popular soap in Britain embracing it as a storyline, and the motives. I mean, are they altruistic or are they?
I don't think. I think it's just a story, and you know, I think if they do it well, it'd be a story that we could all watch and maybe even learn something from.
That's it. It's all about how this is done, I think, and it's really hard to judge it until we see how it's written and how it's played out. I mean, I'm all for, you know, soaps and things that people watch every day tackling really big issues, and I think now is probably a really good time to do this. I think they did the right thing to put it at the time, but all this is going to do is raise awareness about a serious issue, and whether it's common or not, it does happen. It gets a lot of scaremongering. Actually, I think people
But isn't this tapping into the scaremongering part of our psyche, in as much as it's so rare, and it's happened now, and child abduction is still kind of big news. We still hear regularly about Kate and Jerry McCann. I mean, the anniversaries,
I mean, I feel quite strongly about it as a no, absolutely no. There should be some subjects that are taboo in some ways because, you know, when it does tackle serious issues, it's often showing people a way forward, showing people choices that can be made and educating you about something that maybe isn't talked about, you know, domestic violence, lots of issues. I think if a child is abducted, you are powerless. You know, there is nothing that you can do. You are at the mercy of, you know, as, say, Kate and Jerry are, you're at the mercy of any help that you can have. And the longer it goes on, the more it fades. And I think we're not showing people a way to deal with it. We're just showcasing absolute pain. And for me, that, you know, we know how much press and how many papers were sold off the back of the disappearance of Madeline McCann. And I just see this as a transparent way of getting more viewing figures.
Would you take Dawn's caveat that it depends how it's done?
I just still feel, how can you show people a way forward and show them a path and help and support in a way that you might if you had shown someone who's dealing with cancer or dealing with bereavement or dealing with divorce?
I have to say, it's an excellent point.
I just,
when they've tackled things, child abuse, incest, say, within the family, or rape, there is a process, and they show you the options. You're quite right, and you are quite right that I had concerns simply that our national feeling, how we feel as Brits about child abduction, is distorted, and that this wasn't going to help. But I think your point is stronger. But I do take yours as well, Dawn, that it depends on how it's done.
I think if we come back to is it respectful or not issue, then many parents who weren't quite as high profile as the McCanns, whose kids have gone missing, have tried to set up their own foundations and their own, you know, awareness campaigns themselves. And so on that respect, I think that's going to help these people in some way. They'll feel like their message is getting out.
Yeah, it's quite nice to think that it's not just Madeline McCann that's disappeared.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not like 100,000 children a year disappear at various stages.
That's not very common.
But no, but it's 100,000 children that disappear. Most are found, most have run away, very, very few are abducted, and very, very few that are abducted never show up again. I mean, you're looking at a couple of hundred a year tops, which is still a lot, but they're forgotten about. perhaps...
But it's also a soap. Let's not forget that. And even though it's a soap, it doesn't have its remit isn't necessarily to show people how to get through things.
No, but
Karen
is... Yeah,
and that is, you know, to me, there's just something really... There should be something taboo about using what is just extreme pain with no outcome.
You see, I mean, I can't remember the last time I've heard anybody advocating that something should be taboo. Dawn, I mean, a lot of your stuff tackles taboos. Do you think that in itself is an argument, that there are some ideas that should, perhaps not censorship, but a voluntary censorship, a self-censorship, an awareness that perhaps some issues shouldn't be dealt with
5 minutes
in sex?
ago I would have said no, but what you just said
it's
makes a lot
good,
of sense to me, so I feel a little bit like you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I'd go along with that as well.
And they can do this now, and I kind of think it's great, but good that they're bringing awareness to this issue, but I'm like, what's their point? What's their goal? What are they trying to achieve by this? And it is maybe just entertainment.